I feel like YouTube is the only potential path to financial freedom for me, even if the odds are low. First of all, it is going to be limited to artificial intelligence-generated videos, but I have discovered an artificial intelligence that produces fairly good, in my opinion, and comprehensive storytelling. Full artificial intelligence videos, like Sora, are excessively costly and are not straightforward enough to create on my phone. I was doing that, but I lack the time or, honestly, even the passion to dedicate weeks or months to an 8-12-minute video. I am becoming increasingly financially desperate, running out of time, and being unexpectedly required to spend more without the capacity to earn more. I regularly have my hours reduced, working a low-level grocery job, the only employment I have not been dismissed from or that has not been seasonal or temporary. However, this job does provide my health insurance, and I take 4 medications, 2 of which I have been on for over 15 years. I cannot drive, and it is not as if I have never attempted to do so. For some inexplicable reason, many jobs appear to require driving as part of the role or are simply too far away, with the cost of Uber or Lyft being prohibitive. I am approaching 30 years old, so I also feel as if I have squandered most of my life. I cannot understand why my life has unfolded this way and why I have failed and struggled with everything. I do not believe I did anything to merit this situation, but perhaps I did. I have experiences that suggest the presence of God and demons, leading me to think that there might be demonic forces in my life. I have endured considerable terror that seems unreasonable and illogical, with no external or visible reasons for my fear and explosive outbursts, which I had to manage with additional medication. I experience obsessive-compulsive disorder, a spirit of rage and demonic influences in my life. At least once, I was genuinely possessed and physically controlled against my will, making me bark and run down the hallway. The episode ceased only after I pleaded and prayed to God. There is no conceivable logical or scientific explanation for that, absolutely none. Even today, especially last year, attempts have been made to manipulate my mind. I sense them trying to seize control of my body once more, and it vanished immediately in response to prayer and experience that felt miraculous. Believe it or not, I am still not a Christian. It is complicated, but I cannot merely choose to be one. I cannot feel 100% assured of the existence and presence of Jesus, or perhaps something within me prevents me from fully submitting to the Lord. As I cling to experiences I have not had that are generally regarded as sinful. However, many individuals are trapped in similar dead-end poverty jobs for years, indicating a severely flawed economic system. And what is happening with the many homeless individuals? What is truly occurring here in America? I need to find a way to work entirely from home, and it must be straightforward, as I genuinely believe everything in life should be now. I do not even understand the purpose of attempting to grasp something like coding or programming. I always struggled with algebra and geometry. None of it ever made sense to me. When large language models like ChatGPT can communicate and execute tasks in plain English, rather than in a jumble of words and numbers. This serves as evidence that technology is capable of comprehending human language, making it seem foolish and inefficient to continue developing digitally by typing a collection of random nonsense and utilizing numerous different programs to complete a single task. I would seriously contemplate receiving a Neuralink or some brain implant, if it were possible, because my understanding has not improved. Everything remains just as confusing and overwhelming as ever. Additionally, it feels pointless to insist on doing things in a more complicated manner when artificial intelligence is becoming increasingly adept at simplifying everything. I wish I had been born a few decades later so that I could grow up during the artificial intelligence era, because I simply cannot adjust to this world. If we must rely on all this artificially unnatural technology in our daily lives, it needs to operate itself or have a super-friendly human interface. We did not evolve to operate 70-85+ miles per hour death machines and decipher ancient alien gibberish merely to create basic things in digital form. I cannot even read anymore without having my phone read to me, or it takes me, perhaps, half an hour to read this post. I have to constantly reread words and sentences as well to ensure I did not overlook anything and to maintain the narrative. I am not even suggesting that I deserve a handout, although I would no longer oppose, for example, a higher universal basic income than is typically proposed. I do not care if others are dependent on welfare or whatever, as there is nothing simple or even really fair about earning a living income. It is impossible for everyone to achieve a living wage, and the right has the audacity to encourage reproduction. Yet they refuse to support an increase in the minimum wage or universal health care. They are disgraceful and exhibit nothing pro-life about their stance. They are selfish wannabe dictators. I am in dire need of an implant. I cannot even remain focused on the topic. I cannot think clearly or organize my thoughts. The world does not make any sense. How can I trust what I see in front of me? Common sense cannot be trusted. The world is governed by strict rules. I am not asserting that I should receive a handout. I forgot to finish that statement, but that it should be easier to earn money and more of it. I am simply who I am. I cannot adapt. It has been almost 30 frustrating years, 3 decades. All the claims of, "You're young, you have time," have been worthless nonsense, and "it gets better" was an outright lie. Everything changes, yet nothing changes simultaneously. I am evidently never going to thrive in a regular job, at least not one that pays a living wage. I live with my parents, and I still have less than $1 in my bank account. Just 2 days before payday, nearly $750 in credit card debt, and $4,300 in savings, which will continue to diminish. My paycheck will have to be spent as soon as I receive it, resulting in more credit card debt. It almost seems pointless to attempt to pay off the balance. And I cannot simply earn more money by working more regular jobs. I have to spend money on artificial intelligence-generated videos. Even producing voiceovers incurs costs. I cannot use my own voice, nor can I show my actual face on camera. That is why I have turned to artificial intelligence-generated videos. They are quicker and more efficient. Also, because it is the only way I can physically create anything digitally, as I cannot engage with all those programs and settings, nor am I likely to maintain enough interest or focus to complete it that way. I need to produce them rapidly. The relentless financial demands and bills stifle creativity as well. There is no time to engage in activities out of enjoyment. Everything has to revolve around money now, especially since I cannot attain what I need from regular jobs. Story 2. The New Guy Chronicles, Episode 10. I am sorry, my child. Long has it been since Jordan the New Guy has haunted this subreddit. When I last wrote here, my life experienced nothing but chaos. A job change, a failed move abroad, an illness in the family. Life placed demands on me that were hard to endure. Recently, I was reminded of these tales, and I have chosen to return and share just a few more. Do not worry, dear reader. I am no longer the middle manager of my own personal circle of hell. I undertook a brief stint in a director-level role in another sphere, and have now settled into a position as a systems engineer. However, my memories of those dark days remain, as do my notes. Thus, I come back to you with a clearer mind and free from the burdens of middle management. Without further delay, welcome back to the New Guy Chronicles. Edit Episode 1, if you haven't read the rest of the saga. https www.reddit.com r Tales from Tech Support Comments PCVL 1's The New Guy Chronicles Episode 1. These are the narratives of the New Guy. Everything you are about to read is factual. I present you with these stories of amusement and sorrow, of entertainment and frustration with as much accuracy and as little embellishment as I can manage. Many dialogues are recounted as best I can recall them from my notes and memories of the incidents they depict, but the essence of what you are about to read is as genuine as I can make it. Names have been altered to protect both the innocent and the guilty. Episode 9. https www.reddit.com r Tales from Tech Support Comments pxcdxc The New Guy Chronicles Episode 9 The Sound of an. The cast: Jordan New Guy Thomas Me. The manager and network administrator Lori Director of Information Technology Sherry Director of Human Resources. New Guy's mother Tisha Department Manager. Department Irrelevant Steve Chief Executive Officer Penny Pincher. Day 234. I apologize, my child. 234 days. Well over half a year trapped in a cage without bars. Since my last communication, we have endured monotony and fatigue, frustration and indifference. Time has lost all significance. The walls are closing in. I long to escape this place but see no exit. The day begins like most unremarkable and full of existential dread. I sit at my desk daydreaming of a new profession. Perhaps I will raise llamas or become a beet farmer. Beets cannot deceive, nor can they possibly bring such sorrow as I have experienced these past months. A knock at my door. I shake myself free from my daydream and see Tisha, manager of another department. I appreciate Tisha. She is a straightforward person who never makes unreasonable requests. Hey, what's going on? Can I close this door? Sure. She shuts the door and takes a seat. One of my employees was searching for a document on the shared drive, and something appeared in the search that she thought might be it. But when she opened the file, it seemed like an HR document. She showed me, and it was located in IT //IT/backup. I'm fairly certain we shouldn't have access to that, and I wanted to inform you. Oh yes, that appears to be something that shouldn't be accessible to everyone. Thank you, I will look into it. Tisha departs, and I navigate to the directory she referred to. My heart fills with dread. In this folder on a company-wide shared drive accessible to anyone are numerous documents with titles relating to employee compensation, bonuses, disciplinary actions. Great Turing's Ghost. Today is not going to be a good day. This is not information that every employee in the company should be able to access. I suspect it was backed up here from the HR shared drive at some point, but I cannot understand why. I call my director, Lori, and briefly share the details. She advises that I should consult Sherry to see if she recognizes the files and determine why they are there. I head to Sherry's office. Tisha came by and informed me that one of her employees was searching for a document and stumbled upon these files. It appears they are from the HR shared drive. Sherry examines the files, and I can see the growing concern etched upon her face. These are not from the HR folder. These are from my personal network drive. I do not know what they are doing here, but not even my employees should have access to these. How did they come to be here? I am not sure yet. I wanted to check with you to see if you knew anything before I invested a lot of time on it. I have already restricted access to the folder, so only you and IT can view it now. I will investigate. I return to my office and begin my investigation. I find out when the backup folder was established. I also learn that whoever set up the individual network drives before my arrival at the company made a monumental error, which I have never noticed. Individual network drives are mapped by policy, but the permissions on the parent directory allow anyone to browse. Any employee in the company could browse and had reading permissions to each directory. This is not good. I still believe this was done unintentionally at some point, but I cannot completely dismiss the possibility that some rogue individual with a level of technical skill above that of the average office worker has discovered the error and exploited it. I notify Sherry of the issue, and she states that she needs to confer with Steve, the CEO. I include Lori in the communication, and we arrange a meeting. I explain the issue with permissions, my plan to rectify it, and also recall that Sherry's computer was replaced some months prior. I cannot remember the exact date, but promise to check and see if it aligns with the creation date of the problematic folder. Sherry emails me shortly after the meeting asking who replaced her computer. To keep it brief, it is revealed that Jordan, in a glorious display of his incompetence, prepared Sherry's computer for replacement by backing up her network drive to the public IT share, the one containing documentation and user guides accessible to anyone in the company. I explain all this to Lori, and that John and Daniel also recall Jordan replacing the computer that day. Sherry is informed. The moment of revelation is near. She and the CEO have already vowed that severe consequences shall befall the individual responsible. What has been said cannot be undone. After months of deceit, ineptitude, and general unbearable behavior, Jordan has finally received the recognition he truly deserves. While he continues to be my employee, he has received an official, documented reprimand. Signed and sealed by his own flesh and blood. I was mistaken. Today is a good day after all. Story 3. I, 20 FTM, have feelings for a friend, 20M, and I don't know what to do. This is the first Reddit post I have ever made, but I am honestly just perplexed and exhausted by how much this is affecting my mental state. To provide some basic information about myself and him, I am a transgender gay man, and I have been out for about 2 years now. I am not taking any hormones or have had any surgeries, so most people still perceive me as a woman. The guy I have feelings for is a cisgender gay man whom I met around 2 years ago when we both started college. I was introduced to him through mutual friends, so we share the same social circle. When I first encountered him, I thought he was very attractive, and I was interested in him. However, I can be somewhat socially awkward, so I did not communicate with him much initially. Then I discovered that he really enjoys video games, so we began playing together in our college gaming room, which is an area in our student center filled with numerous PCs and consoles. I got to know him better, and that is when I began developing genuine feelings for him. To summarize, I confessed my feelings to him, and at that time, he was involved in a situationship with another guy. I am unsure if that influenced his response, but he told me that he did not share the same feelings, and I accepted it, telling him that I still wanted to remain friends, although I would understand if he chose not to. After that moment, we became somewhat distant. We did not communicate often, but we would occasionally run into each other and end up playing some games together. Fast forward to December of 2024, during the Christmas break, he began texting me because he purchased a game on Steam that I really enjoy. He essentially sent me a message like, "I got insert game here." We started discussing the game and various other topics because of it. This continued throughout December, until about a week into January when he stopped replying and left me on delivered. It was quite stressful at that time because my friends from my hometown and I were planning to visit his area to see our mutual friends from college. So we embarked on the trip, and I felt somewhat anxious because I did not want to encounter him after he had essentially ghosted me for a week. When we arrived, he joined us. The first thing he said to me was, "Oh my gosh, I just realized that I have not been responding to messages at all recently when, insert friend's name here, texted me about your arrival today." I was somewhat annoyed, so I replied, "Yes, you haven't, it has been a week." Then I walked away to catch up with other friends. Afterward, we continued walking through their local shopping area, and I wanted to visit the coffee shop there, but the group was preoccupied with other things. He and another friend expressed interest in going, so the three of us proceeded to the coffee shop. It felt odd, yet somewhat normal. We got our drinks and reunited with the group, who then decided to head to the cafe, naturally, so we all walked back together. I did not feel like going back inside because it was crowded, so I sat at a 2-person table, there was a row of them, by a large window. The view was rather pleasant, and another photographer friend captured some fantastic photos. He sat down at the table across from me, and our photographer friend took a picture of us. We talked about a TV show and the game he acquired during the break, and then we realized that the group had walked off without us. So we followed and somehow got separated from them. It was just the two of us walking through the area. We actually discussed him ghosting me, and he apologized. We continued this conversation for a while, just enjoying each other's company, and I even ended up riding in his car to go to a park and for dinner. In the car, he opened up about some personal issues he was facing. We had a meaningful discussion about our life situations, and it was quite enjoyable. He exclusively played music by my favorite artist, which made me very happy. The same kind of interaction happened the following day, except my hometown friends, and I had to pick him up to take him to a place about an hour away. I was seated in the back with him and another friend, and I was in the middle. Not much occurred, just some car singing. Upon arriving at the destination, a large thrift store, it became just the two of us again strolling through the store. Again, we simply talked, joked, and explored. We remained there for about 2 hours before heading back, and during the drive home, he fell asleep. While he did not rest his head on me, his body was slouched against mine. All I could think was that I did not want to move or speak because I did not want to disturb him. We dropped him off, and I did not see him again for the remainder of the trip. This occurred about a week before classes resumed. He actually asked me and a friend if we wanted to go out for dinner, but the other friend was not back in town yet. He and I ended up having dinner and even returned to my place to hang out and play video games. This pattern continued, with me going to his place several times over the last couple of weeks. He asks if I want to spend time together and offers to pick me up, and then we either go out for dinner or he drives me to his residence. In the last couple of visits, We have been working on homework and school-related tasks for a few hours, followed by video games and conversation. Nothing romantic or sexual has transpired. Last weekend, we enjoyed some drinks and became slightly tipsy, but we simply had a silly, carefree time. Now, I find myself in my current situation. I think I have developed feelings for him once more, and I am feeling confused. Only one of my friends is aware of what is occurring, and she has expressed concern, urging me to stop this. I know I should probably heed her advice, but I genuinely enjoy spending time with him. I would also like to believe he has feelings for me as well, but I must consider the fact that he rejected me last year, and he often does not respond to my texts. He is also a rather unengaged texter and leaves me on delivered for days. Additionally, there is the issue of my transgender identity. I am uncertain about how he feels regarding transgender individuals or dating them, but many cisgender gay men tend to prefer not to due to genital preference. I also have not started testosterone therapy or had top surgery, and it seems unlikely that I will be able to access those options anytime soon given the current state of the world. I am simply unsure whether I should cut ties with him, ghost him, have a conversation with him, or continue with whatever this situation is. I really care about him and value his friendship, and I do not want to jeopardize the bond we have reestablished after our long period of limited communication. I am in need of advice, a reality check, or anything. Story 4. I know it's a long text, but I am tired of thinking about that. Hello, everyone. I apologize in advance. I am not a native English speaker. I have been married to my lovely wife for approximately 4.5 years now. We have 2 sons who just turned 3 and 2. Since we are both working full-time and have small children, our sexual life has decreased to once a week. I have a high libido but never pressure my wife to do anything. I pick up the children from daycare, I cook, I clean, I give the kids baths, I change their diapers, I take them to appointments, I do a lot. We always had our routine, going to sleep early around 9:00 to 9:30 p.m. She went out with her girlfriends maybe a couple of times a month. She would return home early, nothing wild or suspicious. I completely trusted her. Earlier this year in April, she told me she felt as if we were growing apart and that she no longer felt like having sex. She mentioned that we could just live together without being intimate anymore because she did not want to force herself to do anything. I had no idea what had changed, as we were fine, no arguments or anything. Literally, the same day, things went back to normal, and we had some intimate time and a nice dinner as if nothing had happened. 2 months later, on May 22nd, she randomly started asking me about a small gated community in the southern part of our city. It is essentially an area by the beach populated mostly by middle-class, older individuals. She sent me a screenshot, stating that she and one of her girlfriends, let's call her Girl A, were discussing getting together there, and that girl also has a female cousin in that area who lives about 10 minutes away. She went to hang out there. We share each other's locations, so I saw they were at a restaurant, but I didn't think much of it. Days later, she randomly sent me a picture of her breasts. She hardly ever does that. When I saved the photo, it had been taken 3 days prior late at night in our bathroom. On June 2nd, she went to catch up with another friend she hadn't seen in months. A couple of hours later, she told me the place had closed early, and she decided instead to get together with girl, and that girl's cousin in the gated community again. They were at the beach. Almost 2 weeks later, early Friday morning, she was shaving her private parts. That night, she went out and started sending me screenshots indicating how girl had problems with her husband, and my wife had to go to that gated community to wait at the cousin's house at 10 o'clock. Maybe 30 minutes later, I texted her, and she responded immediately, saying she was still waiting for a friend. We exchanged a few messages, and she was replying right away. I fell asleep, and at 11:30 p.m., I woke up and noticed she was still at that house, so I texted, "What's going on? What are you doing over there?" She said it was a long story that the girl showed up and went back home and so on. She told me she had called an Uber to go home. Literally, 5 minutes after I texted her, she was already on her way home. 3 days later, I came home from work and prepared a meal for my family. She ate and then fell asleep. I checked her phone and there was a man. He was muted, and the conversation with him was deleted except for the last 2 messages, one from my wife, which read, "Are you crazy? "I'm not going anywhere. My husband just cooked dinner," along with a picture of my food. And his response was, "That looks good." He was sharing his location with my wife and was in the same neighborhood where she had been hanging out, literally at one of those houses on Friday. I woke her up and confronted her, and she was initially scared and began making excuses. Then she explained that she was walking to the cousin's house when a male neighbor was standing next door watching her, and that he had gotten her phone number from that cousin. She insisted they had only been talking for one day. She swore on our children's lives that she had not done anything wrong and that our marriage meant so much to her, and so on. She blocked him immediately and stated she would never speak to him again or go near that area. I saved his number and texted him saying, "I am this woman's husband, and I see what is happening," and invited him to meet me, especially since I could see his location on my wife's phone. He blocked my number. You may call me foolish, but I believed all that nonsense. A couple of weeks later, I was still trying to process everything and checked her phone again. The man was still blocked, and I opened the conversation with her girlfriend from that night, and that just didn't make sense to me. After that girl texted my wife about issues at home, my wife went straight to that house without an address or anything, and she finally called that girl when she was already there. Additionally, she had started sharing her location with that girl around the same time. How can you just randomly go to someone's house you have only met once before at 10 p.m. on a Friday night without an address? I opened the conversation with the girl she claimed to meet on June 2nd, and the last time they communicated was in early May. No phone calls or anything. Most importantly, there were no Uber rides that day. Someone must have picked her up from our house, driven her to that location, and then returned her home. I lived with this knowledge for the last 6 months. We went on 2 vacations together. She goes out as she used to a couple of times a month, trying to call me each time she is out to show me whom she is with. She has stopped talking to that girlfriend, and things have somewhat returned to normal, but it continues to eat at me. Last week, I decided to discuss what had happened, and she denied everything, claiming she could show me the Uber rides. I said, "Okay, show me," and she became enraged, shouting, "Okay, let's divorce. I don't want to be with you because you don't trust me." I didn't do anything wrong. That man is 38 years old and lives with his mother, father, 3 sisters, and nephews in that house. I love my family and my children. We have somewhat returned to how we used to be over the last 6 months. Yesterday, she mentioned how we would go on another vacation next year and upgrade our wedding rings, stating she cannot wait to start 2025 with her family. During those 3 weeks in June, she continued to treat me well. She made a reservation at a steakhouse for my birthday in July and invited a bunch of people. She booked us a vacation and paid for it. Yet, I don't know what to do. I no longer trust her. I don't feel inclined to do nice things for her anymore, and she senses that. I love my children and want them to have both parents. Last week, she asked me if we could close this topic forever and never discuss it again because it makes her feel distant from me. I agreed, but I think about it every day. It just wears me down. Story 5. I am 25F and my 26M boyfriend is expecting a baby. Is a healthy relationship still possible? My boyfriend, 26 years old, is expecting a child with another woman. The other woman is currently quite far along in her pregnancy and will be due shortly. The situation is inherently complicated. For context, I have known him for years, and we only recently established a romantic and sexual relationship with each other. The woman who he is having a baby with is someone he has had an on-again, off-again relationship with for some time. In fact, he was attempting to break up with her again just before she discovered she was pregnant. Since then, she has been using her pregnancy as leverage to try to maintain some form of co-parenting relationship with him. It is evident that she still has feelings for him and wants a relationship, but he has grown to absolutely resent her and desires no connection with her. To spare the details, she has done nothing but complicate the prospect of raising a child as co-parents. I care for him deeply and want the best for him. I know in my heart that regarding his feelings for the baby's mother, I have absolutely no reason to be concerned. However, he remains fully committed to being a father and raising this child. In summary, she is genuinely unqualified to be a mother. This is not her first child, and her other children have already been taken from her. As it stands, we are uncertain if this child will not be taken away right from the beginning. Additionally, we have no idea where she is and may not even know if or when the baby is born. That said, a custody battle is likely since he wants to terminate all of her parental rights regarding this child as she poses a danger to both herself and the baby. He wants nothing more than to raise the child himself and is determined to do so if possible. However, managing this alone is going to be significantly more challenging, as he currently does not have much in place that would prepare him to bring a child into the equation. Despite this, he still wants to fight as hard as he can to raise her on his own. As for myself, I am torn about what to do. I care for him deeply, and I believe our relationship could genuinely grow into something extremely healthy and worthwhile, something neither of us has truly experienced before. However, knowing that he wants to raise this baby makes me very anxious regarding our relationship. I wish nothing more than for him to be involved in this child's life, and I also want to be a part of her life, but the notion of becoming a parent and raising a baby terrifies me. Especially since I know how terrible the mother is, and this certainly isn't the direction I had envisioned for my life. I also desire to have children of my own someday, but only when I feel fully prepared. I feel I could potentially manage this situation, but I also recognize that our relationship will never be the primary focus again if we choose to raise this baby together. Therefore, I am at a loss about what to do. I am uncertain whether to accept giving up a truly good relationship or to face my fears and take the plunge with this person I love and care for. I have heard contrasting views on how it could either ruin or strengthen our relationship. We also have an incredibly robust support system, so I do not have genuine concerns that anything negative will happen to us or the child if we decide to raise her together. If I choose to parent her, I would want to feel like her mother, even though physically I am not. If I decide not to continue this journey with him, he would still remain part of my life. There is no way around that, as he is closely connected with my family. So, I would have to observe everything unfold from a distance while also attempting to move forward with my own life. The entire situation is incredibly daunting, and I do not know what steps to take. There is also a possibility that we may not even be granted custody of the child, making all this contemplation seem futile. However, knowing what I know, I cannot shake the feeling that I need to prepare to make my decision now, even though the baby has not been born yet and nothing is finalized. Does anyone have any insights, suggestions, or anything that might be useful to me? This is a potentially life-altering decision, and I am scared of making the wrong choice. I do not want to disappoint anyone, but I am also uncertain if I am ready either way. Whether co-parenting will destroy any semblance of a relationship we may share or not, I just know that I really want to be with him, but becoming a parent to do so. I'm not so sure if I am prepared for such a significant commitment given that our romantic relationship is still quite new. Again, I have known and cared about him for a long time, but our relationship itself is recent, so it is not easy for me to simply walk away. He is also quite opposed to the idea of placing the child for adoption. He has very strong feelings against the adoption and foster care systems and would prefer to avoid them if possible. While I believe that an open adoption where I could be part of her life would be the best outcome for me, that is not his preference, and ultimately, it is his decision. I do not want to be unkind, and he has already expressed that he will not hold it against me if I decide I can no longer do this and need to leave. He is genuinely a good person, but this is also a highly stressful and chaotic situation. I have attempted to discuss it with him several times, but he is quite firm in the belief that he created this situation and it is his responsibility to navigate it. With my limited options and given the circumstances, I am uncertain about what I should do. Does anyone have any insights on anything I might not have considered? Any advice that I may be overlooking? Any guidance would be appreciated. Thank you for taking the time to read this.